I can't talk much louder. Hearing aids? Okay. At this time, we'll have an invocation. Pam Hall? I guess you got to yell into the microphone, Pam. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Buenos dias to our Spanish speakers. Hello. Okay. So it's a great morning to be alive, isn't it? Wow. So it's a great morning to be alive. Great day, great people, great place to live. So I'm going to do something a little different this morning since we have a great audience. Let's all say the Lord's Prayer.
Not everybody is of that faith.
Well, if you don't know it, you don't have to say anything. If you know it, then you can say something. So let's go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pam. Now can you hear me in the front row? Okay. Okay, I have a couple of remarks this morning, and I have some resident recognitions to read. First, I want to remind all of you that we will be starting in a couple of weeks our Employee Appreciation Fund. It's a month earlier this year than it was last year. We will be putting up the collection box and the thermometer next to the reception area in the front. We have set a goal this morning of $95,000 to raise for, which is the same as we raised last year, for our employees on the campus. That includes almost everybody that works here, except for the executive director, the associate executive director, the Sedesco employees, which is the dining director and the executive chef and the dietitian who works over in the care center area. Those people are not included, along with this year, some employees who are considered eligible for a bonus program from corporate. I don't know who those people are, but there's a number of them on this campus who are in that category. We will find out who those people are later on, but there are less people included because of that. That's always been a little bit of a controversy about people who may be somewhat highly paid compared to others. Those people will not be necessarily getting any recognition money this year. So we will be sending out, as I say, a letter to all of you indicating where the money is to be, the checks are to be written. Cash is not an acceptable means of payment. We only accept cash because checks, we only accept checks, excuse me. And those have to be done that way for banking purposes and accounting purposes. And again, we'll start collecting on September 1 or just before that. and all of the money has to be received, Bob, by 25th of October this year, and then we'll still have a big party for the employees. The checks are going to be all written to the employees by a corporate and deposited into their bank accounts individually for the employees. We'll still have a party in early December in which we'll give out letters to all of the employees and have a big luncheon and have a big party outside, and like we have in the past. So things will all be the same, except we will not be writing the checks, which will save my handwriting and everybody else's. So that's going to come up, and I want you to all think about all of the people here who work here, from the dining staff, housekeeping, people who work the front desk, people who security, people who work in the care center, both nursing staff and other staff, people who do the meals, people who deliver, people who do maintenance, take care of us, drive buses, drive us to doctor's offices, drive us to grocery stores, drive us everywhere we want to go. Everybody who takes care of us and helps us makes our lives better. This is our chance to help them at Christmas time. That's what we're all here for. So keep that in mind. I'll be giving some speeches along with other council members during the weekly things that Brad holds, and we'll be discussing what might be considered appropriate amounts of money, depending on how long you've lived here, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll cover that. At this time, I'm going to read some resident recognitions that were given by some of you. I have not seen these until this morning, so I can't tell you whether these are really good people or not. The first one is to Bob Boyer. Boy, we appreciate the role Bob has taken on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, leading us through a series of exercises in the pool. Thank you. That's from Angela LeBlanc. Hey, Bob. To Richard Finkel, plays the piano for our exercise classes and does many other things. From Nancy Goldberg. Way to go, Richard. Oh, boy. Another one to Richard Finkel, Dr. Richard Finkel. Keep the villagers alive. Improving his piano artistry, teaching us that old dogs can learn new tricks. That's from Janie Williams. Okay. To Annalise Duncan. A special thanks to Annalise, who delivers the parcels personally to the occupants of Building 1. Thank you very much. From Angela LeBlanc to Annalise Duncan. To Nancy and Ron Day. Yes, delivering packages to Building 2. Thank you. From Nancy Goldberg. Nancy's been busy. To Diane Bowman, Library Committee. Prints pockets and cards for all our library books. Big job. Thank you. From Nancy Goldberg. To Sandy Champagne, our bingo hero, runs the game to a full house. That's from Nancy Goldberg. She isn't. To Sandy Picasso, or Picazio, I should say, visits the care center to visit patients there and cheers them up. Again, from Nancy Goldberg. Walt Gisler and Debbie Lang, for helping me with the luggage cart Tuesday night. I appreciate your kindness and care. You made my day. From Jennifer Shaw. And this one I'm going to add to. It's to Betty Brown. The beautiful music she plays on saxophone is God's gift to her and our delight to hear. Also her harmonica player as well. That's from Mary Burgess, but I'm going to add to that because Betty's the secretary to the council, and she does a lot. She handles all the stuff I want to send out because I'm not very good with emails at all. She does the committees, minutes for many of the committees. She's on many of the committees. She does play the saxophone pretty well, both in the villagers, and she goes to the care center. But the most important thing she does on the campus is keep the squirrels happy in front of my building. So thank you, Betty Brown, for all you do on this campus. That's all I have. That's enough. Okay, are there any additions or corrections for the July minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve?
Approved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, treasurer's report.
The Milltown Mall account balance in Congressional Federal Credit Union is $7,902.65 as of January 31st. Did I say January? That's my birthday. July 31st. That was an easy one. We'll start collecting checks for the Employee Appreciation Fund soon. Residents will receive a letter with information on how to donate. That'll come shortly. And this year's collection ends on October 25th. I have one more thing. I have to switch pages here, and that would be this. Okay. I'm asking the resident council for approval for Milltown Mall to write a check for $223 to Nancy Anderson to cover the cost of materials for a project requested by the resident. Oops, I can't get this thing working here. Come on. Requested by the resident life office to make 50 bone pillows and at least 25 bibs for them to give away. Nancy bought all the materials at a cost of $223, and when she presented the bill, she was told they didn't have enough money to pay for that, but they would be glad to pay for the stuffing. They also said that some of it would go to Palm Villa. So I'm requesting a $223 check come from Milltown Mall account for Nancy Anderson.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, write the check. Thank
That'll
you.
be taken care of.
Okay, you all done? Thank you, sir. Okay, next up is activities. Betty Brown, remember the time limits on committee reports.
Okay, very quickly, our fearless leader is out of the country right now. The updates we have real quickly from Sam, she's going to be on vacation from the 31st of August to the 14th of September. So some changes have been made in the calendar to reflect that, such as Tasty Tuesday being done very early. And letting you know that. We're also opening on and off campus events to Palm Villa residents that are able to be a part of it. And they need volunteers to wheel them over sometimes. If you are able to do that, you might want to contact Palm Villa about being able to help. All right, we reviewed July activities very quickly. Several things were canceled because we need a minimum of 6 people to go any distance off campus. And we're not sure if that's because of the heat or because we just didn't care whether we wanted to go or not, but we're gonna look at that, all right? In August, the things that are coming up, we already went to Kelly's Landing, but we had to cancel the train museum, and that's a really neat trip. Did Funky Buddha Brewery. I understand that was a lot of fun. We just had Licky Sticky here yesterday. The bowling that's scheduled today is canceled. Tropical Acres is scheduled for next Monday. Unfortunately, we only have one driver and one bus. So it's really first come, first served, but we're gonna ask, you know, if you've been someplace recently, give other people a chance too. That's true even with things such as the chef's demo and stuff like that, because it's a big rush to get to the sign-up lines, but we need to let other people have a chance. But we will try to schedule Tropical Acres again soon, so that because it is so popular. The Metropolitan Opera is the 16th, Chocolate Factory the 21st, and CLF is providing a lunch for that, a sandwich lunch for you. The Broadway Bagels on the 23rd, Ghost Korean Barbecue. My understanding is there's tableside grills at that Korean barbecue place. The Frost and Perez Art Museum on the 30th. and the Pembroke Lakes Mall on the 31st. Then we have a bunch of things going on. Tasty Tuesday, Watch Repair, Chef Demo, Watermelon Social, Back to School, which is a sales event. We have entertainment tonight. The Speakers Bureau on the 11th, which is like the NSU speakers, is current events. And we have a happy hour with Brad on the 14th. My understanding is there's Philanthropy and Covenant Trust on the 15th, Prayer Walk on the 17th. How to Prevent Falls, Richard Finkel's going to present on the 18th. Grill Night on the 18th. On the 19th, this is a special announcement from Sam with more information forthcoming, but we've added in the opportunity to preview a play that will take place on that 19th of Saturday the 19th at 3 p.m. here. Look for more information on Channel 90 about the play and whoever's giving it. What else do we have going? We have the spending time with the dying. Chaplain Corey, I think, is doing a presentation on that. The Caring Advisor, which is philanthropy. IT chats have permanently changed to 1:30. Summer Flamingo is a flamingo-themed mingle. So flamingo. College Football Day on the 25th. Scrumptious Saturday on the 26th, which is like Tasty Tuesday, but is taking place at Tasty Tuesday because Sam's going to be gone. Entertainment on the 28th. We're stuffing bone pillows on the 30th. We have another grill night on the 31st. Suggestions for future events with the Antique Outing Festival Flea Market, because there's also a 99-cent Veggie Mart around the corner. They want to resume park picnics. We're hoping for September or October. The Norton Art Museum, Flamingo Gardens, has a Lego insect display right now, which ought to be really interesting. And maybe a chance to see the movie Oppenheimer.
You're
And-
done.
Okay. And the only other thing I had was other things we talked about doing, but we're good. So anyway, we're going to meet again on the 16th of August, which is next week, at 10 a.m. in the Creative Arts Room, if you'd like to join us.
Thank you. Treasurer?
Okay, we'll go this way. Good. Not treasurer, dining committee. Yes, keep up. All right. So the minutes from the dining committee meeting of August 3rd, we had 14 members present, started at 2:30. Everyone's welcome to our meetings, 2:30 in the Banyan Room, first Thursday of the month. Greg summarized the upcoming price increase in the common grounds, which computes to about 9%. The increase takes into account the cost that the supplier is charging us, and the price increase takes place on October 1st. He offered a summary of the comments from the written and electronic cards. Food temperature was the main complaint. There were 32 positive, 8 negative comments. It was proposed that cards be given to residents to take home with them with information on making comments. There's a discussion about the timeliness of entree delivery and what's being done about it, and what's being done to even out for the whole table at the same time. The Everyday app, which replaced the Bite app, was discussed. I won't go into detail, they were just talking about it. The new oven is being installed, and the rotisserie chicken oven is being purchased. In the near future, chicken will be rotisserie chicken. Whole chickens will be available for purchase comparable to grocery store prices. A food runner has been added to making food service better in the dining room. It was noted that the Action Station cook has to do pizza orders at the same time, slowing down the Action Station. And they're looking into moving the pizza oven into the kitchen and separate that operation. Starting Sunday, August 13th, the news you've been waiting for. Sunday dinner will be buffet style from that point on with a carving station. The buffet will cost between $14 and $16 for one serving, and $8 for an additional serving if you want a to-go meal, and you would request that from the server. Greg is buying more green containers because many are not being returned, but it's still cheaper than paper. There is a proposal to move the Building 2 to-go meal pickup location from the dining room to the mail rooms of Buildings 2 and 3, and they're looking into how that might be done. The meeting was adjourned at 3:15. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll hold any questions till the end of the meeting. Okay, next up is Health and Wellness. Ann McClintock.
Good morning. These are the minutes from July the 27th. The meeting was opened with prayer. 9 members attended. Murray Ginsburg submitted his resignation letter. We will miss him. Wheelchair reports were turned in to Claudette. Since she was a member of our committee, members discussed the lack of communication concerning Carolina Sejas's position. Reports. Claudette Saint, wellness nurse, reported, July was designated the month for having difficult conversations. Baptist Health presented Understanding Grief, which was very informative but not well attended. Anthony from Fred Hunter did a fine job in talking about pre-need planning and gave residents ice cream. The last presentation in the series is Continuum Health Care. This is on July the 28th. They will be talking about palliative and hospice care services. Reminders, Dr. Bariziak's clinic every Tuesday, Echo Lab every Wednesday. Call for appointments for the Tooth Fairy, mobile dentist, Dr. Nina Coletta, Dr. David Morris, on-site dermatology, Stephen Rodney, hearing aid. All of these numbers are listed on Claudette's windows. Residents who go to the emergency room with stays longer than overnight need to inform the wellness nurse. Also, residents who have planned procedures for more than overnight should inform the wellness nurse. Residents are being asked to fill out the resident information update form if you have changes in your phone numbers, doctors, related parties, advanced directives, and so forth. Upcoming events. The third Well Chat is scheduled for Tuesday, September 26th at 2 p.m. in the Banyan Cypress Room. Come learn from elder law attorney Danielle Slater about your options to tidy up your affairs when you have no family or significant other nearby. New primary care option, a presentation by Chin Med was on Friday, August the 4th. Richard Finkel will be presenting on August 18th in the Village Center. Claudette would appreciate your feedback regarding the wellness events and presentations. Committee members discussed ideas on how to increase attendance at the wellness presentations. Diane Osborne and others have great ideas. Please let any member of the committee know of ideas that may help us. The next Health and Wellness Committee meeting is August 31st at 3:15.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, next up is Annie Lay, Hospitality.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'll make this short and sweet. Okay, the hospitality, we met on August 7th. Most of the members were there that are part of the committee. The meeting was called to order at 1:30 with a prayer, and we accepted the minutes. Susan Harris distributed her orientation checklist that goes to staff members when new residents arrive. This just means there's a coordinated time when over a couple of weeks, when each new resident has a personal visit with people from administration, facilities, and so on. So she pointed that out to us. So hopefully that's going to work more smoothly. Let's see. And she also gave us a listing of the staff listing that's provided to the new residents. We had a discussion about, this is just internal stuff between the hospitality committee and marketing about what we give out to people when they come in is what we do as hostess, and we work that out so that we have a good communication and we're not being redundant and we're getting the important stuff up front to them. Acclimation of new residents was discussed, and there were a few bumpy moments for some of the new people, but all has been worked out, and they seem to all be acclimating well. We have a new person on board. I hope I pronounce her name right, Kari Filkin, who is the new replacement for Kim, who is the coordinator kind of person in marketing that works with us and works with the facilities people and so on. So we welcome her on board. She identified new residents coming in September. Okay, I'm just going to run through this real quick. In the month of July, we had 6 new residents. And coming in September, we have confirmed 7 new residents.
Ooh.
And there are more residents to be moving in at the end of September and October, 6 of them. So, as I always tell you, please look at the board for all the pictures of the new residents, because they're across all parts of the campus, and make them all feel welcome when they get here, as I know you all do. And let's see, we have people scheduled for the friendship table. And we had no old business to discuss, and the meeting was adjourned at 2:40. And our next meeting, if you would like to attend, as you can see, we have a lot of new people moving in. We need new people for each building to move in to be hosts and hostesses. So if you'd like to attend, our next meeting, because of the Labor Day, is going to be on August the 28th at 1:30 in the Banyan Room. But normally we meet the first Monday of each month at 1:30 in the Banyan Room. You're all welcome to come and sit in on a meeting to see what we're about, but we welcome you, and we hope that you will come to see us. And that's it. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Glenn, before you start, Barbara Schmidt has a couple comments to make about library. You can just stand there and look pretty.
Thank you, everyone. We did not meet. We took a vacation, but we'll be back to business the first Tuesday in September, which is September the 5th at 2 o'clock, the day after Labor Day. Just want to ask a favor of people. If you take out a book from one of the building libraries, just return it to that library. That would be the one thing that you could really do to help us get them back into circulation quickly. And I had a question that had been given to Sam. They weren't sure about, they were looking for a book and they couldn't find it in the master notebook. If it's a new book, we don't print that every time we get a new acquisition. Look on the plexiglass thing for the current month where a brand new book may be, or look in the beginning plastic pages. That's where the new ones are. So if you have any questions about the library, just contact me personally. And just as a reminder, don't be offended, but this weekend is my time to send out love notes about books that are out for longer than a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Glenn, you see I have my camera out,
Yes.
and the timer is going to start now.
Okay. As you can imagine, this is going to be very, very, very brief. I have 2.5 pages of notes. So what I'm asking you to do in your lobby of each building and in the library, this is the one from the library I borrowed. The minutes will be published in here. You ought to be able to have them by next week. There's a lot of information that you need to read. Please use this Residence Council minutes. It's available for everyone. And okay, the biggest thing I want you to know about is the construction of the new walkways. The construction has been completed, and we're hoping that the rest of it will begin soon. The automatic doors connecting building 2 and 3 from the lounges of both buildings going across the courtyard, those doors have not been completed. Hopefully they'll be done by next week. We were hoping that these would be done at the beginning of construction, not after it started, but there have been unusual problems. Also, for those of you who are taking the exit towards the village center from building 3, go across the crosswalk into the parking lot of here and then the sidewalk to the town center. Most of us are coming out of that exit and going right against traffic, walking in the road, and there isn't enough room for a car or a truck and you and the fence. So please go across the crosswalk. It's a few more steps, but come to the village center and then to the town center. The pickup and drop off in front of the town center is very, very congested. They are working on solutions to make that safer for everybody. People are pulling in way underneath the overhang, parking, getting out, and then there's people backed up who are trying to come in, and then they're backing out. We're very, very fortunate that nothing drastic has happened so far, but they are working on solutions to that very congested area. They're also working on plans that I guess Plantation is considering on changing the traffic pattern that would allow a safer walkway from the exit from Building 3 on the road. That has not been completed. Those things really need to be done before we're really safe and can get the job done. Signage plan. Many people in Building 3 have never been to Building 2, and now they get rerouted, and it's like, where am I? And it's just symptomatic of somebody 90 years old, and me included. Where am I? It happens to all of us. Signage, they're talking about putting more signage in the lobbies of Building 2 and 3 to give you an orientation of a landmark where you are and arrows and language on how to get to where you want to go. Most of us need landmarks to know exactly where we are, because we haven't been to that part of this campus. And what's happened with the doors not being automated in the lobbies and connecting the two, people are remaining in their apartments. They're not going out. They're getting their service done. We want to get people out of their apartments. We need to get that job done. Let's see. I don't have any updated news about the fire alarm drills that have been going on. I know you're interested, but I don't have any information whatsoever. Let's see. Anyway, and please read these things. There's much, much more in here that we covered other than the new construction that is very, very helpful and interest to you of what we're doing and trying to get accomplished. Have a better day.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you have 30 seconds left. He did it. Give him a hand, folks. He did it. It's a record.
Great job, Glenn. Okay. My name is Pete Tingham. I'm the CLC rep for you. My name is Pete Tingham, and I'm the CLC rep for you. And I recently attended a meeting in Westminster, Colorado, for the Covenant Living Communities annual meeting, Elections and Budget 2024. Oops, went too many. Yeah, no. This is the entrance to Covenant Living of Colorado. It's about 25 miles from the Denver airport. Don't fly in there late at night. It costs a mint to get to the facility. The main facility is a 6-story building with approximately 60 duplexes surrounding the main building. All mail and dining are located in the 6-story building. And the assisted living plus other services is in a separate building near the 6-story building, but it's not located within a structure. Here are some views. That's the 6-story building there. That's a view from a window of one of the units, and that's a balcony there. Obviously, in January and February, it's a little different viewpoint. It was very, very hot there when I was in Denver. Okay, financial indicators were a big part of the meeting. Fitch gave Covenant Living Communities an A- rating, which is the same as the last year in an in-person audit. They actually came and audited the books. This is 3 years of this rating. And the president of the auditing firm said that Covenant Living is in, quote, rare air, unquote. Days cash on hand is 454 days. That means if we didn't take in another dollar, we have enough money to run Covenant for 454 days. All 3 of the recent acquisitions and affiliations, 3 Crowns in Chicago, Inverness in Tulsa, and Keene in New Hampshire, are on schedule to become an obligated member of Covenant Living Communities earlier than the projected 5 to 7 year period. Medicare and Medicaid certifications are either completed or in progress, providing for greatly enhanced revenue. There was an audit of the COVID funds received by Covenant, and it passed with no exceptions. And the audit firm said that we had a stable financial outlook. That's the indoor pool, which obviously in Colorado is pretty important, the gym, and the wood shop. And Walt Westner, they have a full garage with wood storage and machines, which you would be very envious of. Okay, go to the next one. They also had an employee recognition program where they put up the employee month on a placard and also in a hallway. I don't know if those are of the year or of the month there, but it was a different type of employee recognition program, which I thought was a plus for their employees. Okay, other items discussed at the meeting. They talked about sustainability. We had a working lunch with the voting members of Covenant Living, as well as central office staff participating in this discussion. This is something which is going to be coming down the road for how Covenant can participate in sustainability. A program was given to the resident life directors called the Heart of Welcome, and it's being restarted at this time. And Dee Brown, Human Resources, provided a high-level update on Covenant Living's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion initiative. Next steps include combining findings from focus groups to develop an understanding and a shared unique perspective and experiences, compiling findings into an executive report, and drafting a proposed statement for review and approval by the board of directors. The resident survey. The 3 most mentioned items in the resident survey that we took: number 1, dining. No surprise there. Number 2, communication. And number 3, technology support. As you know, technology is moving much faster than many of us are able to comprehend. And fortunately or unfortunately, the MyCov Life app is comfortable for some people, but not all. And there'll be a lot of dual function for quite a while before that takes place, where it really becomes common. All of our children use the app to check their bank account and do everything else, but we're not quite there yet, I know that. The final results will be coming soon. The next survey of that type will be in spring of 2024. And one interesting fact, 88% of residents said they would choose to live in Covenant again. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm almost done. Cost increases, 5.5 is what we have, nationwide at 6.3 with special assessments in many locations. Inflation and labor are key drivers. Food and customer products are significantly priced higher. Employee retention has increased from 40 to 60%. They've absolutely flipped that number, having more people. And increased available job openings advertised on electronic platforms. Okay? And questions? My term expires next June. If you want contact information or more information, that's my information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. Okay, next up, Bill Nanowski, Financial Committee.
We had a financial review committee meeting on July 25th, 2024. The purpose of the meeting was to review the residential cost increases for the next fiscal year. I am giving a very brief presentation because, as everybody is aware, Brad's making a more detailed presentation, so I'm just kind of introducing the topic. The occupancy for this fiscal year is expected to be 81%. Next year's target is 83%, and the Covenant Living total for next year is 91%. We are about 10% below what Covenant Living does in total. The assisted living, we are currently at 79%, a projected huge increase up to 89%. And all of Covenant Living is 87%, which is less than what we are projecting for next year. And skilled nursing has always been a very high number for us, or at least since I've moved in. It's currently at 90, and it's projected to go up to 92.5%. And again, that's higher than Covenant Living in total. The increases for residents is 5.5% on the monthly fees, and 5% on average on other costs and fees such as haircuts and fitness classes and that type of thing. We then talked about some of the main drivers of the increase. Merit increases for the year for the employees are going to be 3%. There are what is being called market-driven wage investments, but I have no details to report on how those will be calculated and how those are what the totals are going to be. And there's also an increase in benefit costs, which is really market-driven. The operating topics, we talked about two. There's an operating margin that's unique to our industry. This year, we're projecting to end the year at $100,000 positive. The same operating margin next year is going to be a loss of $36,000. Operating expenses, the three biggest increases are nursing expenses, 15.7%, driven by regulatory issues. And insurance is going up 11.9%, and that's primarily driven by hurricane coverage in the state of Florida. There's very large increases throughout the state. And marketing is going up 14.6%, and again, I have no additional information on what is making up that increase. Capital expenditures are projected at $4.4 million, with the biggest piece being apartment refurbs at $2.5 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before I have Brad give his presentation, I want to read to you all a letter which I received as president of the Residents Council from Brad. It's required by state law in Florida if the amount of our increase of 5.5% is higher than the cost of living consumer price index for Southern Florida, which was 3.3%. It says, Dear Resident Council President, I am providing this letter regarding Covenant Living of Florida monthly fee increases effective October 1, 2023. Enclosed with this letter are the August 10th, 2023 Resident Town Hall presentation materials to the next fiscal year budget, which is today. The monthly fee increases beginning October 1, 2023 exceed the most recent published consumer price index for all urban consumers, all items, Class A areas of the southern region, the price index. This price index is currently reported as of June 2023 at 3.3%. Overall reasons that the Covenant Living rate increase exceeds the price index. The cost of attracting and keeping qualified employees continues to outpace the price index. The budget for the upcoming fiscal year includes merit increases and market wage adjustments for employees that are not factored into the overall price index. The price index is a compilation of broad economic measures which does not look at seniors living long-term care costs as an individual economic sector. Reasons by that, the Covenant Living of Florida rate increase exceeds the price index by department cost centers. The Florida Continuing Care Act requires us to provide the reasons that the rate increase exceeds the price index by department cost centers. Administration in general, cost of employment and staff outpaces the price index. Dining, the cost of employment and staff outpaces the price index. Also, cost of food and supplies outpaces the price index. Facilities, cost of vendor relationship, utilities, and supplies outpaces the price index. Cost of employment and staff outpaces the price index. Healthcare, cost of nursing employment and staff outpaces the price index. And last, insurance, the cost of insurance premiums outpace the price index. With that, Mr. Bodie, you're up. Give us a chance to move out. You're going to use a power presentation, I assume, aren't you? We need to move.
So while we're moving, just a couple of quick announcements. Susan is going to have on Channel 90 the resident town hall that we do monthly. Starting September, we're going to go to a bi-monthly town hall. So Town Center on September 15th is going to be invited to come down to the Village Center for a town hall that's going to be specific just for the Town Center. We will still be able to do the questions that we put out by the reception desk, and if you have a question in another building, we'll read those and answer them. And then on September 19th, Building 1 will be for their town hall. So again, Town Center, September 15th, and that's going to be any resident that lives in the Town Center. September 19th is Building 1. And for the month of September, there will be no resident town hall. My resident town hall that I do the Tuesday after here, we're going to go ahead and hold off on that. So we're going to run that for September, October, November, December, with the idea that we're going to touch each building twice. So the idea is a communication plan for us. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I thank everybody for coming out. We've put a lot of time into our operating plan for fiscal year 24. I'm hoping to go over all the talking points with enough time at the end of this for questions. So, Susan, do you have the clicker? Oh, your clicker. Okay, next slide, please. So fiscal year 24 key strategies and influencers. We're looking at occupancy targets, a strong fiscal management, exceeding our IOM and NOM targets, and then fully implement key campus initiatives. So what does it mean by occupancy targets? There's been a lot of change in assisted living occupancy and assisted living memory care occupancy. The need is for us to create a one-bedroom apartment. The goal, hopefully, before 2024 ends, is to create 2 one-bedroom apartments in Palm Villa. So we've done some strategy behind that. We've been approved by finance to go ahead and make a one-bedroom apartment in assisted living. And we are just waiting on the architectural plans and the permits before we can commence construction. When we look at strong fiscal management, what do we talk about with strong fiscal management? We're investing $2.5 million into apartment refurbs in 2024. So when we look at our ability to attract clients, prospects, any one of your friends, what are they looking for? They're looking for open kitchens. They're looking for washer and dryer units. They're looking for all the amenities that they've had at their home or apartment wherever they've lived prior. So that's almost $1 million increase compared to 2023. Fully implement key campus initiatives. As we've listened to Terry, and for those of you that have listened to the Covenant Life Today, she talks on asking more for the residents. We continue to ask more from ourselves. We are lowering our NOM. something that we haven't done prior to our fiscal year. The days on cash hand remains good, and the commitment to invest in higher amounts of capital in our community. So with that, higher amounts of capital are coming in for us to fund technology, construction projects, dining equipment, staff being trained, efficiency in staffing, and increasing our retention rates. Healthcare occupancy is also going to come in as that key initiative. As you've heard from Bill, 90% occupancy in skilled nursing is a higher index, comparatively speaking, to other Covenant communities. So with that, we look at retaining staff. Part of that, and you're going to hear a consistent theme, is wages. How do we attract those key players to come in? Monthly service fees, as we've heard, residential living will go to 5.5% for first and second person, assisted living 5% for first and second person, and then also memory care, first and second person will be 5%. So some of the questions that you might have is, why is healthcare 5% and not 5.5%? Residential living at 5.5 reflects continued high cost for key expenses, food, utilities, insurance, medical benefits, and an investment in employee wages and market adjustments. Cost to operate healthcare remains high. However, prior to fiscal year 24, healthcare increases were higher than residential living for several years, ranging from 3.5 to 5%, depending on the level of living, while residential living was at 3%. We are striking a balance between covering costs and the competitive level of our rates. Also, for RL, for those of you that know Ziegler, who is a privately held investment bank that specializes in healthcare and senior living, and a recognized leader in the non-for-profit underwritings, in 2023, they surveyed, on average, residential living rates increased to 6.3%, median was 6%, and we do feel that fiscal year 24, we are in line with our competitors. Again, I encourage residents to watch the August Covenant Life Today, where Terry Cunliffe and Jay Hibbert discuss monthly service fees and the drivers behind the increases. Next slide. Ancillary charges. Beauty and barber, guest rooms, 5% increase. Transportation, anywhere from 0 to 4%. Housekeeping, 11%. Maintenance hourly fee, that's going to stay flat. IT hourly fee, 3%. Skilled nursing laundry, 15%. And assisted living memory care support service levels and packages, an increase of 5%. Some of the drivers between these increases: non-labor prices in general are going up 5%. The services with a labor component vary based on labor environment. Some communities, including our community, have seen a significant labor increase that needs to be passed on. And we have rates that were kept artificially low and now need to be reconciled with their actual costs. FY24 dining prices. The October menu will reflect overall price increase in bistro, average 9.97% due to supply chain pricing. Majority of dining room prices remain constant. Some bundled items move to a la carte, price increases as necessary based on product category. Residents can maximize their value by participating in the $360 program using all allocated dining dollars. Additional menu prices information is available with the dining team. Our financial responsibility: we need to be good stewards in managing our food budget. Supply chain, increases in food costs. Labor market, increases pressure on wages. Menu prices must reflect budget considerations. October menu will reflect changes in pricing structure to reflect budget considerations. Future pricing will be conducted on an annual basis in alignment with the start of each fiscal year or as needs arise. All other program metrics remain unchanged. The choice of 3 dining meal plans, the $360 dining dollars per month, the $240 dining dollars per month, and the $180 dining dollars per month all remain unchanged. Residents choose to spend dining dollars, your choice of venue, your choice of meal period, and your choice of menu selections. Menu prices continue to offer a great value compared to dining outside of the community and in any retail restaurant. Next slide. Key plan assumptions, residential living. When we talk about reoccupancies, our goal is to have 45 new residents move in the fiscal year 24. Vacancies, 37. So when we look at vacancies consider residents moving to a higher level of care, whether that's Palm Villa or care center, or also moving to a different community or moving out of the community as well. Average occupancy, we've talked about this prior to this. So first person, currently we're at 239 in residential living. In assisted living, we're at 38. Skilled nursing, 56. The capacity represents percentages. So 83% is our goal for fiscal year 24 in residential living, 89.3% in assisted living and assisted living memory care, and skilled nursing, where our goal is to be at 92.5% occupancy. Labor and benefits. As Bill mentioned, our merit increase will be 3%. Market-driven wage investments and medical and dental increases are expected, where medical and dental benefits are increasing to 11%. We are making targeted wage investments to ensure we are offering a market competitive wage. Fiscal year 24 operating expenses, nursing, planned increase of 15.7%, ancillary 1%, resident benefits minus 1.9%, dining 0.8%, facilities 9% increase in operating expenses, utilities 4.4% increase, insurance 11.9% increase, administration 0.2% increase, and marketing 14.6% increase. Fiscal year 24 operation summary. Operating revenues, we're anticipating $20.895 million. That'll be an increase of $1.2 million. Operating expenses, we're anticipating $941,000 increase in fiscal year 24. That'll take us to $19,319,000 in operating expenses, with an internal operating margin at $1,576,000. That's a positive variance of $278,000. Our increased operating margin and ratio will be at 7.5%, and that is a 0.9 difference. Revenue adjustments, health subsidy expense, we're anticipating $251,000 below plan. Net benevolent care expense, $95,000 below plan. Other non-revenue, $71,000, to a total non-revenue of $20,619,000, which puts our net operating margin percentage and ratio at a minus 2%. Fiscal year 24 capital plan. Apartment refurbs, $2,520,000. Infrastructure, $408,000. Strategic, $1,500,000. Total capital plan for fiscal year 24, $4,428,000. Infrastructure projects include paving, roofing, HVAC equipment, elevator upgrades, upgrades to existing technology, occupied refurbs, common area updates. Strategic includes projects like technology updates, repositioning of existing buildings. So with that, that's our fiscal year 24 plan. I know it's a lot of information. I know there's a lot of questions. I'm certainly, it is the top of the hour. What my plan is this: we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. We're doing the resident town halls twice a month. The goal is that's not just me coming in and talking, that's going to be my team, the operations team as well. So if you have questions about what you just heard, what does that mean, we can come into those meetings and I'll talk to that as well during, if you have a question. Our goal, like I said, resident satisfaction surveys came out. I was talking to Peter Norell about this the other day, we have until September 29th to share that information with you. And it really is, it looks like the survey that you took, but it's just laid out with the overall scores. But communication for Florida is the number one. How are we communicating? So my goal is to over-communicate, and we can certainly talk about these. And like I said, we'll run that to December with the bi-monthly town hall meeting. So open to questions. And if, Ardeen, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the microphone, and that way we can hear.
If I can start.
Sure.
Because I just have one question. My wife and I live here, and when I look at the cost of the increase and the cost of dining food increase, we're going to spend about $4,000 a year more living here than we did in 23. And I look at, and I told you this the other day when we talked about this, and I look at the letter you sent me, and I say to myself, and my wife said to me as well, and I've talked to other residents about this, what's in that for the residents? What am I going to get more as a resident from what you're proposing?
So that's a good question. One of the things that we're looking at is the capital investment that we're putting back into the community, not only in Florida, but other communities as well. Resident, that's what I would feel. When we look at putting a $5 million phase one, phase two into Florida, those are some of the ancillary benefits that I would expect to get also. When you look at the cost of, you name it, across the board, we've seen prices go up in dining. So whether it's $4,000 that you're anticipating spending more, it's across the board. Peter. Yep.
Recently it was reported that we're only getting like a 50% increase over what we usually get from Medicare when the cost of living goes in. Now that equals what we're supposed to be paying every year as an increase for like me. But so that means somehow we've got to come up with almost twice that amount. How is that fair? We've been getting 5 to 6, about 5% increase cost of living, and you guys are now taking everything we're going to get and more. Is that fair? Should we be bearing the brunt of that?
You know, Peter,
because you're going to lose people.
Absolutely.
We make up 2/3 of the income you get, as well as being 2/3 of the.
I'm going to speak to that, and I'm
here.
going to speak to it personally, for me and my family, because that increase to live in South Florida alone, you can't look at the national increase. You know, when they say that the housing pricing index is 3% in Florida, South Florida, and including Miami. You know, it's 20% higher than the national average just in rentals. So when I go to Publix and when I go to the things, that's included. We've seen a major increase in what we're spending at the gas pump, at food, restaurants included. So I completely understand your situation, Peter. Right. If you look at the net operating margin, right. 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 One of the things that we look at is internal operating margin and net operating margin. We're coming into fiscal year 24 with a negative net operating margin, with an additional investment of up to $1.5 million in apartment refurbs. The goal is to get to 90% occupancy in residential living. We're coming in at 83%. I know within the next 2 to 3 years, if we continue and invest in the apartment refurbs, we're offering a beautiful apartment to help us with our ability to hit 45% or 45 move-ins to come in for fiscal year 24. If we do that in fiscal year 25, 26, that's our goal. We should be able to put 50 to 60 people in here at least in a year.
Are the elevators in those refurbed buildings, are the elevators going to be operable to get to those? Can you hear me?
Now, I'll repeat the question.
I have a loud, bitchy voice, I know. Are the elevators in those buildings going to work to get to these fancy apartments?
So the question is,
To my way of thinking,
the question is,
elevators should be replaced.
so the,
Spend money knocking things down that are in place.
so the question is, when are the elevators going to be fixed throughout the community? So I think building 3 elevators just got redone. Buildings 2.
No.
So, yeah, okay. Well, I know they're working on them because I just approved a $60,000, right. What they replace is the hydraulic and they just don't come in with the box. You know, they replace all the parts. In order to replace the elevator, you would have to take the roof off and put a new elevator in. But what we're replacing are all the internal mechanisms and components to those elevators. I know. We are, one good thing is Roberto, our new facilities director, is working with our elevator company. We just approved a $60,000 invoice to fix all of the elevators in Building 3.
You got 3 different elevator companies. Depending on where you are. If you're in one, it's one. If you're in the hospital part, that's another company. Excuse me. The one's in 2 and 3 is another company.
Okay.
It is cheaper to replace the elevator if it keeps breaking down like they do.
Okay. So Peter is making a statement based on replacing the elevators as opposed to fixing them.
Because it will, in the long run, it'll be cheaper.
Right.
They won't break down so often. You won't have to pay to have them repaired so often.
Yeah. I'm not an elevator expert, but what I do know is that the 3 companies, and I don't even know if it's 3, I know that we have one vendor that we use for our elevator, and they have to go through an inspection process every year. We pay a lot of money every month to have our elevators inspected. They're actually letting us know, hey, it's time to replace the hydraulic piece, all the electrical components that are associated to all of those elevators are being replaced. So I will bring that in. I will bring that into the resident town hall on Building 1, and we'll talk about elevators on that agenda. You're welcome.
Brad, my question is about residents, not elevators or buildings, but the people here. When I looked at what the increases will be in October for individuals, I can foresee that many of them are going to potentially run out of money. Is the Benevolent Care Fund going to be able to help these people through these times, because these are large increases and they're not getting increases in pensions and so forth and so on? How have they addressed the Benevolent Care Fund for residents currently living here who will run out of money? Thank you, sir.
So the topic of benevolent care was discussed with Terry this month, where her and Jay do go over benevolent care and what does that mean for you as a resident, and how do you access benevolent care. You know, our community is very blessed to have Jennifer Shaw here, who I would consider as a subject matter expert when it comes to contracts, benevolent care, and what it takes to qualify for benevolent care. So I would encourage you, if you want to know more about benevolent care and how that helps you stay in this community, to watch the August of My Cov Life or My Covenant Living with Jay and Terry, or also come see me personally.
So Brad, this is just a clarification, because I have heard several people ask if part of our increase is being used for the new construction between buildings 2 and 3 and the entrance. And I think that's not the case, but I think it needs to be clarified.
Sure. So let me take that as a follow-up, because I think that would, we can put a little bit more content into it, and Jeannie Justy, our CFO, can certainly put some more content into it. So Ardeen, if you wouldn't mind, we can take that, and I will either meet with you or I'll put it out. We'll bring it into the town hall in Building 1 in September, and we can talk about that.
I'm not addressing the increase. Question that I'm having is this route that we have to take from Building 3 to the town center in inclement weather, is that a permanent or is that temporary? I've only done it once, but it took me 15 minutes to walk from Building 3 to the town center, which used to take me 5 minutes going over the breezeway. So also, I just think that you didn't really take into consideration the people in Building 3 when you did that. Yep. That's my opinion.
So really the question or statement is the walkways that go from Building 3 into Building 2 and from Building 2 into the town center going to be permanent, right? So no, they won't be. The canopy cover going from Building 3 into Building 2, all of that is going to come down when the new walkway opens. The walkway will still be there, but the canopy cover will come down. The walkway between Buildings 2 and the town center, that new walkway will come out. The sidewalk will come out. And that walkway going from Building 3 over into the village center might stay. I have to talk to R&B about that. We know that it is I think Glenn did the steps, and we know there is additional steps that needs to be taken. And I think that's why a lot of the residents in Building 3 are now utilizing the shortcut into the town center. We're working with Steve from R&B, along with the fire department. We just got the quote for the temporary walkway. It came in at $22,000 for us to purchase water walkway or the Jersey barriers. So I'm meeting with Steve after this meeting to discuss what our next step is. So it's really, and to your point, that oversight was we didn't anticipate residents coming in out of Building 3 and walking in front of the fountain and cutting into the town center. So, and now we're playing the what is it, level 5 that's doing the walkways. So,
the front door, the new front door that you put in and cross over to the village center and then walk around. It's much shorter.
right.
Going all the way around
Yeah.
through Building 2 and all the way around that.
Our goal is to have the automatic door openers. I just talked to Lisa while we were here this morning. The parts are in. She's hoping to be here on Monday or Tuesday to install them. And with that, all the doors in Buildings 3 and in Building 2 will automatically open. And that's, the goal, and the goal also is that and I think Glenn has identified an additional for 24 areas within the community that are going to need or that could use automatic doors. So every year we're committing to put in, what is it, Glenn, 4 or 5?
4 or 5, depending on how much it costs for a year.
Okay, so we just did 4, right?
Yes.
We did 4 automatic door openers, and the goal ultimately is going to be able to have any real door that you come into that is we heard residents want the trash doors in Buildings 2 and 3 to have automatic doors because they're heavy. So we're working with the facilities department and Glenn on identifying the areas. But one of the things that we do know is this: R&B is the contractor that's going to do this walkway. they're the same contractor that did our Common Grounds Cafe, and it came in 2 months ahead of plan. We actually had to wait on the city to get it before we opened it up. I have confidence in R&B and that contractor to be able to bring this to an opening. So I apologize on behalf of the administration on the extra steps. I completely understand. We are working, and I think Susan is heading this up, and to be able to deliver the food into buildings 2 and 3, so that would save you from having to come pick up your food if you're coming down and picking up your food. So we'll work with you and, of course, communicate with the facilities department to make sure that we're providing the safest way.
Hi, I'd like to refer back to the Benevolent Fund. I am a brand new resident. I mean, brand new. And coming in here, I have got a real burden as a result of the coming increase of people running out of funds. I tithe as a Christian. I tithe the church. What I'd like to know is if I can change my tithe to supporting the Benevolent Fund and helping people that are running out of money. Is that a tax-deductible benevolent fund?
So Julie is our Director of Philanthropy, and her office is located right next to the Life Connect area in the town center, where you would sign up for an activity or look at a calendar. Her office is right there. Julie is the subject matter expert when it comes to benevolence and any resident's ability to support benevolence care. So as of right now, I think the final amount in our benevolence is $8.5 or $8.6 million for Florida. So that's as of third quarter.
Hi, I just had a quick question. Clarify for me, because I'm in Building 3, and of course we've been dealing with this renovation. We're still waiting to have our floor painted for 2 years because this was part of it. But anyway, I have an issue. I just have a clarification question.
Sure.
My understanding was that there was a special bond issue that paid for this $5 million. Now you're saying, oh, this increase in our rate's going to be paying for this. So what's the story? Who's paying for it?
Okay, so I think, let me just clarify and correct me if I'm wrong. The phase 1 and phase 2 of the construction that has been going on for the last 2 years was part of a bond project. The $2.5 million investment in our fiscal year 24 capital is for apartment refurbs. So we have 2 separate construction projects that are taking place. One is funded through the bond project. The other one's going to be funded through our capital, our fiscal year 24 capital. I hope that answered your question. Correct. That's also funded by entrance fee dollars.
Can I just ask one more question?
Mardine, you want to?
People have been talking here. Now, I understand we spent money to put all these beautiful temporary sidewalks, and now you're going to rip them all up, right? Since we already spent money to put them in. But the other sidewalks we have, we can't fix because we don't have money to do it. I walk my dog in the courtyard, and in this back way where you have those, where we have the new temporary overhang things, they did part of the walk because it was the temporary way to walk over to Building 2. The rest of it, which isn't real long, is just as bad and just as hard to walk on. But no, we couldn't do the whole walk. We had to say, no, we'll do that next year. We'll wait and we'll call them back again and bring all their equipment back again instead of doing it all at one time and spending less money. We don't mind paying sometimes, but we don't like to see our money not being spent wisely. That's my question.
Yep. So I completely understand your frustration. One of the things that we're trying to do is to be able to, when we have a big construction project like this, is to understand what, because within the 2-year period, construction costs went up 30% in 2 years. So there was certain things that we were anticipating doing that we couldn't do, just because we have X amount of dollars to spend, and we had to offset some of those by the increase in what we were paying for the contractor to do it. I can commit in certain things in fiscal year '24 when it comes to repaving the parking lot, where there's a lot of big, heavy equipment that's going to be coming in here over the next few months, and now's not the time to do the town center just because we have a 50-ton crane thing that's ripping out all the walkways. But, I'll be the first one to tell you, when I come in and I park all the way by the West Gate and I walk across that new pavement for the parking lot, it's beautiful. Phase 2 and Phase 3 have yet to be done. So, yeah. I understand.
Okay. So I've been listening, and what I hear is that there are a lot of variables, the cost of this and maintenance and all of that stuff. There's one constant, the income, as somebody pointed out already, okay? So the other constant is our dining dollars. Although we're paying more and more and more every month, the dining dollar has not moved at all. Many of us supplement that dining dollar by going to the supermarket. So we're just being hit from every side. So when do we get a break? That's what I want to know.
We had talked about the choice dining plans and the value of that $360 per month plan. So if you look at that, what will that buy you today versus what it bought you, I think, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, is what you're asking. And the extent of limited income that doesn't change, correct? So the dining menu prices historically never went up. And I think that's some of the struggles that we've had over the last 2 years, is that we've taken an increase in the dining costs and passed them on to the residents over the last 2 years. That dining dollar, to your point, doesn't go as far as it does, or it used to go. And we understand that. One of the things that we're trying to do is to continue to hold some of the prices that you would pay, let's say $12 for that meal in the dining room, where you still get 4 sides, and not increasing those prices. If you look at the overall increase in food, we did give a list to the dining committee of each individual item. It varies from item to item, but overall the percentages are kind of consistent in what you see in the marketplace as well.
Why are we tied into Sodexo? I think they're ripping us off.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that. Sodexo has been a partner to Covenant Living long before I got here. Yeah. And they do. I mean, Chris Blair does a great job in that. Chris Blair manages a lot of the Sodexo communities, along with the partnership with our regionals. I've personally, as an executive director, I find the value in Sodexo. I do find the value in the relationship that we have with Greg, our new dining director manager. I do find the value in some of the Bite apps that they provide. There's a lot of technology that goes behind a lot of their products.
I just want to ask, can you alert the residents if we're going to have a fire alarm drill? Either through the Channel 90 or mailbox, somehow. Because I come out, I don't know if it's for real or it's for testing. So I just come out of my apartment, and I'm ready. The other day, we were all outside, not sure what was really happening.
So the fire alarm, we've had a lot of feedback about our fire alarm system. It has taken place probably over the last year. We upgraded the fire panels about 2 years ago. With that, the sound of the fire alarm that you're hearing in buildings 2 and 3 went higher, the audible sound of that fire alarm. Our goal is to always let you know via the intercom that we're testing the fire alarm. Yesterday, the fire alarm went off, and that was actually a fire, or not a fire, but the smoke from the pizza oven caused the one to go off in the town center. So to your point, my biggest objective, what I would love to be able to do is to say, hey, Channel 90, we put it in your cubbies, we put it out on the My Cub Life app, where there's also opportunities for us to use the on-call now system and say, hey, you're going to have in building 3 your fire alarm. So we have more work to do on that, but I'm committed to hopefully one day be able to have enough communication on when a fire alarm is going to be done.
Brad,
Yes.
I don't think you answered that question about the $12 per day or the $360 per month allocation for meals.
Right.
Because from what I gather, people who have been here for 10 years says that has always been the $12 or the $360. I can't fathom how anybody could think that after 10 years, the allocation of $360 out of what we pay makes sense still.
Right.
So explain that more to me and to whoever else is having that problem.
The one thing that we do know is what we're paying for the food has gone up 20, 30%, what we're paying. And that's through Sodexo, who's the largest organization in the, well, I think one of the largest organizations in the world. And they have the buying power to come in and say, hey, if you're going to order a case of bananas, we're going to order across the country bananas. So we do have that buying power from Sodexo. To your point, the dining dollar value at $360, does that get as much food as it used to? No, it doesn't. And in the price of what we're paying for the food items is causing that.
No, I understand that, and I'm not saying you can't raise the prices, but I'm also saying you're passing on those prices to us in increased
Yardine, you want to hand the microphone?
monthly charges or increased yearly charges or whatever.
So can you do me a favor, Pam? Start over because we didn't hear half of that.
Okay, so I am not saying you're not to raise prices because we all know we go to the supermarket, so we know prices have increased. What I'm saying to you is, out of that increase that you charge us every year, 5.5, 6%, 8%, whatever it is, the allocation that is taken out of that yearly, monthly payment we make has remained steady for 10 years, for 15 years, even when you're increasing prices. So how does that, I don't understand, how does that gel? There's something that is off with the calculation. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to have to meet with you, Pam. I'm not following, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not following how you're getting to that. So when you look at, okay, if I have a 5% or 10% increase, there's a lot of factors that go into that increase. So dining is one of those, right? Yes.
Are you in a position to raise the amount from $360 to say $450? I think that's the question.
Yeah, at this point, that's not being discussed for fiscal year 24. Yep. Yep.
I have lived here. I have 2 questions. One, can you hear me? Okay.
Everyone, hi. I understand tensions are high. Can we please give this person, Miss Pat Martin, a second to ask her question, please? She's been respectful to you. Please be respectful to her. Thank you.
Thank you. I have lived here. I have two questions. The first question I think is rather basic. The first question I believe is rather basic, and it may have been answered, and if I didn't hear the answer, please forgive me. But my basic question about all the improvements that don't affect me with the changing of the walkways and the covered parking to walk to don't directly affect me because I live in Building 1. But I'm very curious. Nobody has ever explained to me why we needed this improvement. That's the first question. I want to go to the second question quickly. The second question is, based on the fact that I have lived here for 14 years, almost 14 years, and I have loved every minute of it. Absolutely, I can say unqualifiedly, I have loved every single minute that I have lived here. But my question is this: after 14 years, those 3% and 5% add up. I am now paying more than double for maintenance that I paid when I first came here. Way more than double. In the meantime, I speak for myself and many other people, most of us are on pretty fixed incomes. Our investments are set. They're set. And we see our money disappearing. And the alternative plan for us is to see if we qualify for benevolence. And even if we were to qualify for benevolence, as I understand it, we kind of lose our freedom. And I don't know how you answer all of this, but if you could reassure me about the walkways and why we needed this big investment that's upsetting to people and they don't understand and weren't prepared for when it came, I would like to leave here. I've listened quietly and attentively, and I would like to leave today with at least part of my questions answered.
Sure.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the first question. When you look at the reimagining of what potentially we could do with this community versus what we actually do, right? There's a 5-year plan, there's a 10-year plan for this community that always gets updated. What we're doing today in the front of the town center was talked about 2 years ago, and saying, what could we do to enhance that first impression? And it's not only maybe your first impression, but it's your friends. It's family visitors that come into the community. When they come in, we want to put our best foot forward. Some of the challenges that we have in buildings 2 and 3 is that the majority of the foot traffic that comes into buildings 2 and 3 walks through the back part of the building and not the front part, the formal entry. And even the formal entry of buildings 2 and 3 needs as much attention as the front of the buildings, including the landscaping. When we say, if we have a bucket of money to spend, is it worth redoing the front of the community to where when residents come into buildings 2 and 3, it's a formal entrance? That was the decision that was made 2 years ago, to redo the walkway, to make it look not that flat roof. It's dated, and some of the areas in Building 1 are also dated. Building 1 is our original building. We put a tremendous amount of money into the retention pond and landscaping in Building 1. We also redid the covered parking about 2 years ago. Building 1 needs a lot of work too. We need to look at the lighting in Building 1. That's slated for 2024. A lot of lights are going to get replaced to LED lights within the community. We've already done that in buildings 2 and 3. But to answer your question, if we have a certain amount of money, what's going to get us the most bang for our buck? And a lot of that is handled at the executive leadership team. When we talk about construction and we say, hey, how do we vision what Florida potentially has the grounds to look like? We look at the empty lot in front of Building 3. What are we going to do with that piece of property? And it's the furthest point from building 1. And I think overall, when we look at occupancy, whether it's in building 1, 2, 3, Town Center, or even Palm Villa, it's a community, and we have to look at what's best for the community. And for this particular project, the entryways into buildings 2 and 3 was the one that surfaced to the top. And maybe in 25, there's going to be a big investment in building 1, or maybe in 26, I don't know. But I know ultimately we have leadership right now that's really focused on how our 5-year plan looks like and how our 10-year plan looks like. Because what's happening is it's becoming increasingly expensive to repair some of our buildings, including the care center. So when you're talking skilled nursing, that's a regulatory component that is governed by the federal government. And as you know, that federal government likes to come in and tell us what we do right and what we do wrong. And they're better at telling us where we have areas of opportunity. So I don't know if that answered your question to the construction project in buildings 2 and 3, but I know that when you come from building 1, and if you're visiting a friend, you'll probably appreciate the automatic doors. I think there's going to be automatic doors. Well, there will be automatic doors. Maybe they'll be glass. I don't know what kind of door it is. But that's the direction that they're going. And I'm encouraged. When Bill Petrie was here, Bill Petrie's our vice president of all of the, senior vice president of all the construction. He understands reinvesting into the community. And if you look at that and you say, hey, what are some of the other things that we can do? The lobby areas in each one of your buildings, whether it's 2, first floor, second floor, third floor, fifth floor, we need to update those as well. There's balconies in buildings 2 and 3 right now that need to be redone. We're looking to put hurricane doors up there, redo the floor. We need to have the drapes in each one of those lobby areas match the color of the paint. Caesar has been painting buildings 2 and 3 for 6 months, and I think he's down to your floor is next, or I think it's getting done. He's making his way up there. So we're hoping that Caesar can come back into the community when he's finished and start painting other areas. We have to paint the dining room. The dining room, the color of the front foyer area, the front where the hostess stand is, there's that blue color. We need to redo the lights. The 4 LED lights, the 4-inch LED lights are on order. We've committed to doing that. So those are all enhancements. And to your point, that was the first question. The second question is the cost of living increases that you get, that I get, every one of our employees gets. And I don't have the answer for that. I mean, I'm in a different boat because I have my own home, but I live in South Florida. And I think we all feel the impact when we go to different venues. One of the things that we do offer, and I think that Susan's doing a great job, is your ability to go out into the community, whether it's Costco, Sam's Club, the dollar store, Publix. We're trying to make your dollar go farther, and maybe you're on the 360 plan and you're going to run out of money a little bit sooner because the value of your 360 plan or 240 or 180 is not going to buy you enough. Maybe you're buying eggs, ice cream, candy bars. There's going to be a difference in your ability to have that volume of a purchase. And at this point, we had mentioned, are they going to raise 360 to maybe 400? I don't know if they are. It's not going to happen in fiscal year 24. But that comment, we're not the only community that's asking that as well. So did I ask? I want to make sure I walk away and you feel that I've asked or tried to answer your questions a little bit. Okay, good. Yes. You want to grab Susan?
About all the things about updating the community to make it look updated. And as we get older, change is hard.
Yes.
We lived with this for so long. What's wrong with it? I don't care if it looks a little dilapidated. It works for me.
Yep.
But I remember Terry saying when they started this has to do with our financial rating as well, the Fitch, whatever it is. Yeah. That they look at if you update and keep your property in, keep it updated and take care of it. So that's part of why that was one of the things that she said why they were doing this. I know it's hard for us, and we're all in different positions because we're on fixed incomes and stuff. We just like value for our money. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah.
We have one last question here, so thank you everybody for your questions. And again, don't forget, we have 2 more questions. And don't forget, as Brad stated, September 5th is our first
I'm
building
okay.
town hall.
Listen, it's almost a quarter to 12. I'll stay here all day if you want to ask questions. I have no, Ardeen, do we have anything coming up?
I would like to go back to the fire alarm issue. We've had 2 serious alarms in building 2 since I've been here. And one of the things I've noticed is that the response time is very slow. I mean, the building could have burnt down by the time the first security person shows up. And then the communication is really poor. Nobody knows what's happening. So we're all there asking, what's happening? Is there a fire? Is this a drill? What is it? How can that be fixed? Because I'm a little bit concerned that one of these days there may be a real serious fire and people are stuck up there in the top floor not knowing what's going on.
I'm going to give you a good example. About 3 months ago, Building 2 had a fire. There was a resident that left a toaster oven on the oven, and it turned on and completely smoked out her apartment along with the hallway. It was the first time I actually walked up the stairs, opened the door, and I couldn't see down the hallway. What I did see were residents that were opening the door, standing in the hallway, wanting to know what was going on, and all of the smoke went into their apartments. So not only did we have a smoke issue in one resident's apartment that had a fire, we also had an issue with all the other residents, not all of them, I can't say that, but there was a good 5 residents that opened the door and were standing in the hallway watching me come down the hallway, and I could barely breathe. We have such an opportunity with our new facilities director, with our dean and myself, in educating what a resident, especially new residents, are supposed to do when you hear a fire alarm. You hear on the thing, exit the building, but yet our fire plan is to stay in place. So it's confusing. And then you have the fire department, when they're here, they tell me to get out of the building, literally, like go outside because they take over. It's something that we need to put in more of a cycle of education. And maybe we can put that into, and I'm sure, Susan, you and Ardeen have probably worked on stuff like that, but it is the biggest area that we can help educate. You know, when you're coming in and we have new residents here today, you know, it's word of mouth, I think, for some of like, hey, what are we supposed to do? Susan, over the last maybe 2 months ago, came out with a way to where you're going to have, if you're new, there's a whole process that's taking place. You get phone calls from department heads. You get surveys, 30, I think it's 30, 60, 180 days. We just received, we receive those every day in an email. And I think that approach goes to communication. Everything goes back to communication, right? Whether it's a work order, hey, why am I waiting 4 months for a light bulb to get changed? Or whether it's, hey, this program got canceled and how come I didn't know about it? Or whether it's, you know, your fire alarm going off and it's too loud. You know, the Wednesday mingles really brought to light a lot of what I see in going on, you know, and we started that a year ago when Rachel was here.
Because some people say, stay in your apartment, and other people say, get out. Which do we do?
Yep. We have the fire department, so we have a very good relationship with Tony. And Tony's the chief of the fire department. Let me figure out what we can do to get Tony or maybe one of his team in here to just go over again. And maybe we do that every quarter. You know, we can pull the fire trucks up out here and just say, hey, this is where we are. This is our plan. We just got our plan approved last week, and that's the fire plan that we have for the care center, for Palm Villa, and for residential living. So our plan, it's not real, it is our plan, but our plan's approved by the fire department. They have to come in and say, yes, your plan makes sense. They give the stamp of approval. We do that every year. They're here doing inspections multiple times a year. One of the things that we're having to invest in fiscal year 24 is what's called a repeater tower. For those of you that were around last year, there was a survey that was done by the fire department, and some of their walkie-talkies didn't have a strong enough signal in building 1, and I think the town center passed. Now we have to put in a tower by 2025, not a big tower, but it's almost like a tower that you would see with these little microphones, and it's called a repeater tower. And they need to go into every hallway. They need to go into every building. So things like that, it's the relationship that we have with the fire department. We depend on them as much as they depend on us. They're here pretty much every day. So. Yes. Yep. Right. And it's just, and to your point, it's confusing because, you know, listen, I'll be the first one to tell you when I was in building 2, number 1, I had a hard time hearing. Number 2, I was concerned about what was going on. My adrenaline's rushing. Like, is there a fire? Do I need to get a fire extinguisher? Is somebody safe? Where is everybody? You know, it's just, you have to be very mindful of that. And then the best thing, and I go back to the proximity of where we live. It takes the fire department 3 minutes to get here. And that's what I felt. I was like, okay, the fire alarm's going off. And again, let's go back to one thing. If you smell smoke, pull a fire alarm. You know, they're in every one of your hallways. If you see smoke or smell smoke and you think something wrong, activate that fire alarm. Nobody activated the fire alarms, and it was just the fire alarm itself going off. So, yep.
Yeah, I don't understand the basic message. I don't understand why the message is telling us to leave, and yet we have a plan that says stay in place. And I don't understand where the control is. Why can't that message be turned off? Do you know that last night we had 1 hour of exit the building between 9:30 and 10:30?
Yeah.
And why can't we turn that off? Where is the control for that?
So I think the question is, well, let me rephrase that, because we can't turn off the fire alarm. We're not allowed. The fire department has to come in and say, okay, you can turn it off, and then we go to the panel. The panel's located over by facilities. When they redid the fire panel about 2 years ago, they ran all new wiring to the entire community. Part of that is the message that's relayed. It's programmed into the fire panel. The decibel of each one of these alarms is programmed in there, although you can lower it from what we heard. The company that we had to redo the fiber optic lines is saying that we can go into one of these and lower it. That's our request to Tony, and saying, can we lower the decibel of the sound? Because in buildings 2 and 3, it's loud. In the town center, it's not as loud as it is in building 3. The challenge that I'm looking at is, when I go back to my Wednesday mingles, I had a resident go, I can't even hear the fire alarm. Tell me that. I'm like, okay. So I'm here, I am thinking that it's too loud, and then I have residents say they still can't hear it. Some residents have hearing aids. Some residents take their hearing aids out at night. Tony, I'm gonna have Tony come in here, and I think that would be a good question for him, because we have requested, Tony, can we change the message? And let's have him answer that, because when it comes to the fire panel, it's out of our, well, it's not out of our control, but it has to be approved by Tony.
I think there's no question that
Yep.
we are accustomed now, those of us who do hear it, to ignore it. And that's very dangerous.
It is. So Barbara's statement is because it goes off so much, we're ignoring the fire alarm. And I understand that. Yep. I don't know of the fire alarm. I'd have to find out from last night's. I know the one was our pizza oven attempted to get cleaned and was emitting a lot of smoke in the Common Grounds Cafe, which then allowed all the fire alarms to go off.
We actually, ultimately, after about a half hour, called 911. We, sitting down in the lobby, called 911. And they told us that they knew that we were having this issue, and they could hear the announcements as we were speaking, but no one was able to stop it or to turn it off.
I need to look into that one. I need to find out what happened last night.
Okay.
It stopped a couple of times and then started.
Yep. Yes. You want to hold on? Let me get you the microphone.
I believe you made the comment, if we can change the message. Is it a if we can change the message or must we change the message? Because the message is saying leave the building and your policy is saying stay in the
place,
building.
right.
The other thing is the fire alarm is going off for an hour. We don't know what is going on. Is there messaging around that as well?
So the first part, I guess, is a Tony question. We were trying to have that message changed about 2 years ago, and the answer was no. The second part is, well, let me just make sure I understand your second part. Yeah.
The fire alarm is going off for an hour. We don't know what's going on.
So
there's no messaging.
Right.
And nobody shows up.
It has an intercom system that we can use. In order for us to use the intercom system, it's by facilities, and you go in and there's a big microphone. It's actually a closet that looks like Ground Central with all the fire panels. It's got a microphone. Somebody has to be here to push the button and say, there's a fire. Or somebody has to be here and push the button and says, this is not a fire. Sheila normally does that, and that I think is where we need to work on. Hey, like if we know there's a fire alarm that we have to test, they just came in here about 2 months ago and spent a lot of time testing the fire alarms. That notice needs to go out to you. That notice allows you to make plans going, hey, if I have a dog that is going to be upset about the fire alarm, maybe we move the dog or something into building 1 or 2. So,
Brad, I'm in building 1, and the back, and I've always been curious about this. Does the emergency people, the ambulance, do they have a key to get in if there's an emergency? Do they have a key to get into the back door? How do they enter the building?
So the question is, does the fire department have the key? There's master box in each part of the community, and they have the key to that to get into the building. Yes. So if you're coming out and you're heading into the town center for lunch, right on the side, the left-hand side, you'll notice a little black box. Those are the master keys to the community, and the fire department's the only one that has the key to that.
Do they carry the key in the truck with them? Do they know which key belongs to us?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that the fire department and the paramedics that are here know this community like the back of their hand. Because like I said, they're normally here, and Ardeen and Susan, we need to kind of take this when it is the time every year to recognize the fire department and the paramedics. Maybe we do one of the cards like we did for Keene, where everybody signs their name saying, hey, thank you for all the service that you do, we can do something for the paramedics as well. Yep.
Where is security?
Security is, so the question is, where is security during a fire alarm? And are they more, can they take a proactive role? Let's give you a little history of security. So 2 years ago, security was not as active, I think, and committed as they are today because they were subcontractors. Right after COVID, when the community opened up, we brought that in-house, and I think that was in 2022. So we now have our own team that's here. A lot of, well, some of the times that we've seen is if they're answering maybe a pendant in Palm Villa and the fire alarm's going off in building 2 or 3, that pendant needs to be reset. We need to make sure that that resident's safe. That would be an example of where security is. The challenge that also we have is sometimes when we have new security and they're trying to figure out what's building 3, what's building 2, and there's a time lag before they get there. You know, those are some of the things. There's a lot of stories that we've had with security and where are they and things like that. One of the things that you're gonna see in 2024 is a little bit of a, how can I say this with not spoiling it? The structure within security, we're going to make some changes within security to help me out already. Enhance services by empowering a person and in a position to be that subject matter expert for security. How was that, Arlene? Perfect. Okay. And October 1 starts that our ability to do that because we have some really good security guards. We need to keep our really good security guards. And if we keep our really good security guards, they know how to navigate within the community. But we have been very blessed since we turned the security department in-house, and now these are our own employees. These aren't contractors that call off in the last minute, and then our facilities department is coming in to cover a shift, which we've had to do multiple times. So we have some work to do in onboarding. When a new security guard comes in, it takes a lot to understand what it means to be a security guard. It takes a lot. I mean, we have security guards here that know your car, and if your window's left down, and they'll call you up and say, hey, Barbara, your window's down. I need you to come down, or give me the keys and I'll put up your window. So security will continue to be a focus of administration and how, and maybe we need to bring in 2 security guards during a shift. And then that goes into our budget because it's 22 acres of a community. If I have 1 security guard in the town center and another security guard in the care center, it's 22 acres between the 2 of them. So something like that is going to be based on what's the need for the community. If we feel that, hey, you're pushing your pendant and there's a time lag between when security comes, then it's going to come back to administration and say, how do we best put a system in place to prevent that? And then it comes into staffing. Maybe we need, during the height hours, 2 security guards, or maybe we don't. But that's how we address it. So my biggest suggestion is if there's a time lag and you feel that, hey, I pushed my pendant, the security guard didn't show, or maybe the security guard did show, but it was 10 minutes late, let us know. Bring it to our attention, and that way we can work within our department and handle that.
So are they trained in the fire system when they come? It doesn't sound like it.
Ardeen, you want to take that one?
Thank you for that question. To Brad's point, when we outsourced security a few years back, we did have some challenges. What we've moved on forward from that is new team members that are hired, we've actually created an onboarding packet. And what that means is there are a series of processes, plans, the way to do things, the way not to do things. It's a full packet that each team member has to go through with the onboarding person, the person that they're shadowing. And primarily currently it's Carl. If you all know, Carl has been here a while. He knows this community like the back of his hand. And so he's one of our primary onboarder, if I can say that, for our new team members. Sheila also. And so each member has to go through that packet. So to answer your question, yes. Fire alarm systems, pendant alert response systems, and so many other processes, directions, and so forth. Having a resident binder in their golf cart that has pictures and numbers and things like that. So it's a full process that we have in place for new hires. And yes, the fire alarm panel process is covered as a part of that. Again, I think right now, to Brad's point, we're in a good place where we are having team members that are steady. If you've been here long enough, you've known we've had turnovers in that department. And the good thing is right now we've been steady for a number of months with the team members we have. And it comes with time, learning the community and following through with those processes. So we are working with the team and it will get better. And Brad pointed out we do have some plans coming along in the future that will continue to enhance the service that they provide. But we'll also work on some of the concerns that you pointed out today, like the alarm going off for an hour last night and so forth. So thank you for that.
All right. It's 12 o'clock. I have Ardeen, both Ardeen and I have a meeting at 12 o'clock. I've enjoyed our time together. I look forward to our resident town hall, and that's coming up September 5th, Susan? September 5th, Town Center. Please join us here. Thank you.